set just a minute. Are you getting it? Mohan, are you getting it?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
I think you exit and then represent, sir. Exit and then rejoin.
Okay. Where is the share here? Present now.
Bottom
okay,
left.
that is one.
Bottom left.
Okay. Your entire screen. Okay. Are you getting it?
Not yet. Not yet.
1 minute. 1 minute. Are you getting it now? Are you getting it?
No, not yet, sir.
Okay, 1 minute. Let me see.
Hello, sir.
Good evening, Professor.
Good evening, sir.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Hello, good evening, sir. Just a minute. Screen 2, screen 1. Share. Share your entire screen. Okay. 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 Are you getting it now?
No, sir. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
You're getting it. Okay. Okay.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
You got it?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Okay.
Actually, I can start streaming, and also you can start recording. Okay, recording. Okay.
What happened here is not coming.
Okay. Sir, are you ready, sir? Can you start?
Oh, just 1 minute, sir, because let me see.
Okay.
Here. There is some problem. We are presenting, okay? Where is that? Where is that thing? 1 minute. Okay.
Yeah,
Are you
moving? Yeah.
moving?
Yeah, just try to.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Why?
Okay. So shall we start?
Yeah. We can start.
Okay. Previous, can you?
Yes, sir. Good evening, participants. CSI Chennai, ACM Chennai, IEEE CS Madras cordially invite you to a webinar on educational reforms, education on demand, NEP 2020 and beyond, by Professor K. Subramanian, former senior DDG NIC, MeITY and advisor to CAG, Govt of India, founder, director and professor ACIIL, IGNOU, and author of Education on Demand for Japan. Thinking schools and learning nation is the new paradigm. Education aims to mold minds of tomorrow. The new economy is built on fast advancing technologies like information and communications and life and applied sciences revolutions. Speed, flexibility, and nimbleness in seizing market opportunities are critical, integrating entrepreneurial talents and crucial technological enterprise. Knowledge economy requires changes in the curriculum, teaching strategies, attitude change, mindset of learners, educated parents and society at large. Science education, industry collaboration, and integrated community develop inquiring mind and problem-solving skills, revolutionizes teaching and learning experience with desired outcomes of values, skills, attributes to transform humans morally, physically, socially, intellectually, and aesthetically. Literacy for all is the new few plans challenge the government covering billion plus population, preserving values of curriculum, assumed greater significance, covering diversity of learners, goals, conduct, created huge demand for higher education, demanded retraining, de-skilling, reskilling in the labor or service sector, separated by pay, time, learning skills under different environments and diverse groups. Implementation necessities, creation of flexible, accessible, and affordable infrastructure. NEP 2020 converges in IT, BT, CT, ET, NT, MT technologies. Rapid deployment paved the way for reformed studies methods exploiting domains of business, economics, industry, education, and services. Outcome of education should provide right range of programs, activities that are to nurture the whole human being with total involvement in community projects leading to lifelong learning for lifelong employability. The proposed five-tier architecture reforms the present educational instructional contents, management, delivery, instructional and course management services, learner-teacher interaction, and educational delivery services. This presentation outlines NEP 2020 and beyond certain measures to fulfill the vision and dream. Education for all, anytime, anywhere, anyhow, and any means. Professor K. Subramanian, known as KS, is one of the founder and creators of National Informatics Center, NAC, GOI, and the IT Advisor CAG of India. He has 4 decades of experience in government informatics and EIT audit. He has been a catalyst in innovation, modernization of finance, home and personal administration reforms, BFSI, mega IT projects of railways, police, passport, immigration, postal and telegram, and cybersecurity, forensics, e-audit standards. He is involved in educational reforms, governance, developed and implemented multi-layer open source e-learning and management framework, and authored the book Education on Demand for Japan. Professor KS is instrumental in creation of institutions for capacity and skill building, ICISA, NIBM, IDRBT, SBICM, PNBIT, CPAO. He has been a visiting professor at IITs, IIMs, and IIITs. He has introduced 28 ME, MBA, advanced and standardized curriculum through institutional partnership. Professor KS is a fellow of IETE, National Telematics Forum, Indian Science Association, Indian Institute of Standards Engineers, senior member of IEEE, ACM, CSI, member of AIMA, AAER, AAS, ACFE, BAS, NAAC, IEEE, TEMS India, IEEE Ambassador. Professor KS is an alumnus of Madras University with BSc and Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, where he did his PE, ME, and PhD. He has been an awardee of many national and international fellowships and has published several papers in reputed Indian and international journals. Over to Professor K. Subramanian. Thank you.
Yeah. Good evening to all of you. I would like to thank at first the Madras chapter of ACM, IEEE, and CSI to host this webinar. And I thought that maybe possibly let us share some ideas what we have been working on for the last 2 decades on the concept of education on demand and educational reforms, which is, I think, being announced, some of them being announced as NEP 2020 last month. So maybe possibly we'll see what kind of things on education demand components are, how it is going to be implemented. And we have tried also and tested some of the ideas of education on demand in IGNOU also, as well as other partnership institutions. So we have been successful, but unfortunately it didn't take off much because of various issues. Let us not talk about issues. Let us come to the presentation now. Okay. What happened? It's not moving. Screen is not moving. What happened? Just 1 minute. Screen is not moving. 1 minute. Let me see. Okay. Sir, are you seeing it? Is still moving there? Hello?
No.
Okay. It's moving now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I think I just wanted to gives an outline of presentation what we are going to make today, maybe around exactly 1 hour and some 10 minutes. Current education scenario, education demand concept, and collaborative architecture. The second part, I would like to cover highlights of NEP implementation strategy, what has been planned by the Government of India. And third point is beyond NEP, what all we can do and we should do. And concluding remarks I would like to do. So I think if you see this fourth way of environmental changes, a new way of thinking about computers in the world, one that takes into account the natural human environment. That's what Mark Beiser said, and Paul of Xerox. Hope to create a new world in which people interacted with and used computers without thinking about them. I think this is what we can see. The first way, what we are going to primitive society, to agricultural society, to industrial society, to information society, to vehicle society. I think this is what exactly we are trying to see. Integrated space revolution during several years. Now, I think what I'd like to present here is current Indian education scenario. It is over-regulated and undergoverned. And then this is the not-for-profit nature of a 40 billion former IES has deterred for profit private participation, while inability to transform education into a process-driven model curtails scalability in non-formal IES sector. Okay. The investment rests on courses, players with credibility, the management intent and ability, the capital built to last, then built to change also, creativity to manage the over-regulated environment, and content to differentiate and build annuity. So the largest inefficiencies are the highest. The largest capitalist space in India with 30 billion of government spend, nearly 3.7, now is going to be increased to 4.3. And the last budget was shown as a global average. A large network of more than 1 million schools and 18,000 higher education institutions here. Yet the public education system is insufficient and inefficient, leading education hungry and affluent Indians to spend $50 billion on private education, that is 14% of CAGR. So a poor regulatory framework and low risk appetite have discouraged for profit participation and attract a limited capital with no structural change in sight. Rampant corruption and low political will is stagnant. So non-regulated and fast-growing sector is non-formal IES, fails the scalability test barring a few factors. This is what I think IKSA report said. So I think what we are seeing here is a sad state of our education, which is going to be transformed now by the new policy. Education, higher and tertiary reduced to teaching classes against board and university exams. No agility in syllabus, and students are programmed like artificial intelligence system to answer questions. The university education no longer learning centric. Students tutored for contrived university examinations. Aim at securing high pass percentages, not promoting learning and scholarship. Good teachers, well-intentioned institutions have little say. Teaching to prepare students for exams removes the teacher from engaging students in learning activities. Education not connected with developments, be they are in scientific or socio-economic sense. India's international math Olympic rank went from 25th 2007 to 31st 2008. Now it's better improving now. China is first, South Korea second. Why? So Professor Vijay Gupta has made some observations earlier on the concept. The antiquated affiliation university setup, wherein the person designing the course is quite different from person teaching it, who again is not the one examining the students. The affiliation university setup has completely eroded the dignity of teacher. The teacher is in an affiliated college today is one of the most pathetic figures imaginable. He does not have any control on what he should teach. He does not have any control on what student learns, because what student learns is controlled totally by what he is being examined on. The external examination system supplies any initiatives by the teacher in improving the course or its delivery. A very large portion of our engineering education establishment is driven now by purely short-sighted commercial considerations. Almost complete absence of faculty with any passion for teaching. The fact most have never seen what a good teacher can do to their students. I think this is exactly today teaching is seen as the last choice of professions by graduating students. So some perspectives in higher technical education. Education is not about coaching students against board or university examination. Today, no agility in syllabus. Students program like artificial intelligence system to answer questions. Make education learner-centric. Get out of cramming students to pass contrived examinations. Promote learning and scholarship. Bring teachers to the center of education system. This is what I think NEP is also talking about. They and the system to engage students in learning activities designed to impart requisite understanding and skill sets. Equip learners to tackle related real-world problems and develop in the subject areas. I think what is the kind of thing is needed is real-world problem solving. And this is what I think this NEP 2020 also talks about. Link education with development, I think very, very important aspect, which has been talked by NEP also, be there in scientific or socio-economic sense. So our vision for higher educational management education is quality education to all, independent of geography. Enable, educate, and empower every citizen and community through knowledge. Most importantly, connect education to community empowerment and developments, socio-economic as well as promoting values and scholarship. How do we ensure our system delivers quality education? We plan to use all available modes of learners' engagements in the course to provide holistic education in every subject. I think which virtual university. I think this virtual university concept came into picture in November 2005 and 2011. And Government of India gave 100 crores to IIT Kanpur to coordinate these activities of establishing a single virtual university in India. But unfortunately, it didn't take up due to various other interests of the people concerned in the committee. But what happened is the core competencies, IISc universities, IITs, NITs, other institutions, international institutions, central of all universities, coordinate, organize, schedule, broadcast, manage, maintain, infrastructure, storage, delivery through e-learning and teleeducation. I think content development is identification of experts, content development, content generation, content workflow, content deployment, delivery through e-learning, teleeducation, digital libraries. Remote classrooms is virtual interaction, live sessions, rapid two-way communication, synchronous multimedia collaboration. The beneficiaries are affiliated colleges, study centers, training centers, individual students, village panchayat knowledge centers. I think this is what exactly they wanted to set up earlier. So I think need for what is needed here is education grid alliance. I think it's like a power grid. Education grid is essential to share the kind of education content what we have, the best of the content to share by all. We are one of the youngest nations, and according to observers, India has potential to create over 5 million trained people by 2022, which is over a fourth of global workforce. The big opportunity for India would come from an education revolution that we must undertake as our most important national endeavor. The world of education is undergoing a rapid and quiet transformation. How do we in India take advantage of rapid advances in ICT and e-learning and synthesize a new framework of providing quality education to all independent of geography? I think this is the whole idea on which we educational demand built on. And NEP is also talking about the same thing, similar thing with different kind of approaches. So towards practicing e-learning, you see 20 years we talk of e-learning. I think nothing much has happened except for the pandemic which happened. The e-learning became a kind of thing today. Plenty of technology, laptops, notebooks, iCap, thumb drive, IPTV, iPods, iPhones, GPRS, 3G, 4G, 5G, broadband, satellite, virtualization, green IT, etc. All the things have plenty of technology came up. Whole world of new internet services and applications, Google and ever-improving search engines, open source systems, LMS, scientific databases, open content and open access publishing, e-books, etc. So the Google slogan is, my other computer is a data center. So increasing reach and affordability. How do we go about from connectivity and content to formal systems of technical assisted learning, teaching and evaluation, TLT, quality of student instruction? I think this is a whole concept on which it's been built on. Now, demand for education. What is the global perspective? 990 million adults in this decade, 66% of women and girls to be educated. More than 100 million children to be given primary education. 2 billion individuals, adult population to be made illiterate, at least to help them shape their adaptation to social and cultural changes. To meet annual demand of higher education growing at the rate of 8.3%, as seen from LCDs. So educational services, the need for other categories. Apart from 900 million trades, 450 million are upgraded in the literacy levels to cope up with the demand. Self-improvement for disabled. I think very, very important thing which is going to be addressed also by NEP 2020. Retraining of long-term unemployed. Women and girls, half of humanity gender gap to be reduced. After work use, boys requires vocational training. I think this is also gaining a lot of importance in the NEP 2020. Educating refugees and immigrants and non-nationals. 120 million of people living here from their country of origin, they are all settled in India now. So what Professor Prabha said, maybe possibly India at 75, the world's largest pool of trained manpower is going to be here. They are talking about universal literacy programs. And world's leaders in industry and commerce, 30 of the Fortune 100 from India. Indian accounts for 10% of the world trade, maybe more scope of products and services. India is a source of global innovations, new businesses, new forms of organization, new technologies. All our things are taking shape now. If we see the world, what is happening to India, India development, maybe India as a developing nation in the country, in the world. Focus on bottom of the pyramid. Source of innovations for the world, leaders in health, education, energy, transportation, sustainable development for all. Flowering of art, literature, and science. I think this is what 10 of Nobel Prize winners from India. A new moral voice for people around the world. India is a country where university and inclusiveness is widely practiced. India becomes the most benchmark country for its capacity to accept and benefit from diversity. I think this is what I think Professor Prakash predicted India at 75 is going to be. Innovations in ICS enabler. I think what we need is more professional teachers. Reskilling and retraining of teachers for a new needs, new tools, new technologies for teaching and learning. Overnight, they have been compelled to learn these new technologies, and that's why I think the present scenario becomes a challenge for every school and every college, every university. Retention of teachers is a very important activity. New education delivery system multimodal. Interactive and integrated learning systems are bigger. Continuous improvement of communication and presentation skills, very, very important for students to learn. Change in evaluation assessment. Keep the interest in learning. I think this is what is going to be the key focus of NEP 2020, which I think I'll present at the end of this program. So let us understand ICT. I think everybody knows ICT now. The role of technology is to bridge the gulf between the availability of information and the ability to use it. Henry Kissinger said. That's what I think, the people and systems to collect data, generate and organize information. People and systems that disseminate and communicate information. People and systems that create value using information. People and systems that manage the ICT. So the above ICT model is to be conceptualized for quality education development for all. So what we need here now, I think this is a need exercise which has been assessed some time back. A new technology-enabled robust framework. A strong and quality assured delivery systems and channels. A digital repository of quality certified learning resources, multimedia and multilingual. Adaptable to pace and depth of learning of capacity of learners. This is, I think, which has not been addressed, but this is going to be the focus of the new generation, the new 21st century. Language translation, transliteration facility to be incorporated. Very, very important aspect. I think government of new education policy talks about this, setting up an institution for this. A good feedback response system with supported automated workflow and robust database system. Multimodal delivery system depends on the local availability. Support to multi-type learning devices and environments. A continuous assessment system to assess the learners. Continuous availability of mentors and counselors. I think this is exactly another area where NEP is talking about. Creating mentors and counselors on demand. Local content requirement to be addressed. This is also another area where they want to focus on. Upload capability of local content developed by learners and teachers. I think this is a very important exercise, which local content to be developed by learners and teachers to be uploaded and to be verified, certified. A good assessment system of quality of the local content and concentration of syllabus to address the local demand and supply. Very, very important aspect. That's what we need. So reaching the unreached and fear of unknown. We have been addressing many of the teachers in the colleges as well as the university as well as schools. And we found that technology is an enabler, but it's not a substitute for a teacher. I think this is what the fear they have. I think in all the Delhi University was conducting the teacher development program, university teachers development program. And many of the teachers have expressed that tomorrow machine is going to replace them. I think this fear has to be removed. Interaction and delivery system can change. It is not one-way delivery of lectures, but it's an integrated interaction between learners and teachers. Multimedia exposures makes teaching made easier. At the same time, it empowers the teachers and learners. Teachers and learners use the same medium of internet and web. Best course notes on any subject made available for knowledge enrichment. So, address the objectives of education. What are the objectives of education? Let us talk about it for a few minutes now. To make our graduates employable. I think every graduate who is passing out of the university system has to be employable. Every person who is going to be educated from school has to have some potential for employment. To be productive on the job and in life. To observe real-world problems, abstract the issues, and apply what they have learned, and they in order to solve them, the innovative ideas and plans and programs for them. So there are three dimensions of qualitative education. One is the quality instruction set, is commonly driven learning framework. Second is professional competence maturity. Third is foundation concepts and contextual skills, self-development and responsibility and accountability. I think this is what the three dimensions of the quality education, what we can figure out. So situation today is diverse group of learners, separated by space, separated by time, possesses different peer learning skills and new educational training needs. So what is the infrastructure we need? Flexible, global in reach, interactive and affordable. I think this is what the kind of things, infrastructure we need. It may be digital infrastructure, what we are going to plan and implement in the ICT policy of NEP 2020. So curriculum development, I think very, very important aspect. The curriculum has four universal values. The communication, the problem solving, the working together, self-learning. I think very, very important aspect of collaborative learning and collaborative working, a very, very essential aspect of the 21st century. So curriculum reforms. So continuously curriculum has to be reformed because need is changing. The impact of social changes, the rigorous, attractive, and enabling to retain student interest in learning. Very, very important aspect because after some time, students lost interest in learning. Maybe because of the boring kind of teaching methodology or maybe possibly interactive mechanism what has been set up in the system. Rigorous in its demands of intellectual and skills challenges. Appropriate balance of subject skills, knowledge skills, and team learning and value respect. Very, very important aspect. I think the new NEP policy talks about ethics and value system of the education. Give added value and fitness of purpose. So curricula exchange and standardization. Can we do that? Standardization at all levels. Can curricula we can exchange? I think globalizing education delivery. I think very, very important aspect because Govt is also talking about education delivery to be opened up. I think India is gearing for it. Removing self-serving interest, domination, superiority, and control. Everybody cannot go to IIT and IIMs and best possible institutions in the universities, right? So we have to remove the self-serving interest, domination, superiority, and control. I think cost reduction in course and media preparation, very, very essential. We have to reduce the low cost reduction in the course media preparation. Higher quality assurance and experts involvement. I think multimodal experts are needed for getting a higher quality assurance. Distributors and decentralization of subject expertise, very, very interesting aspect has to be catered to. So what we need for managed education services. So integrated open course guide, discussion forums, calendar, email, mobile and other services, TV and webinar sessions, community radio sessions, file and assignment and UD, query management systems, counselor support and web monitoring system, online library and multimedia publishing system, regional study centers to support system. I think what we need is part of by the university, part by the managed service providers. I think it's a mixed mode, which is being talked about. Now, I think what is the kind of things? Maturity. Can we do a maturity rating based on the effectiveness of IOCG conduct in the course? I think same as 5-star ratings. First star, description of blocks, units, and links to be approved by resources. So, 2-star systems, counseling plan, calendar of course events, seminars, TV and webinars, self-test monitoring. 3-star systems, assured engagement in at least 70% of the modules, plus concept map, active learning support, and learner feedback. The 4-star is assured outcome, assessed engagement in at least 70% of the modules and individual group and feedback. I think 5-star modules is going to be what we would like to achieve. With 3-star and above, graduates will be competitive and fit to global job market. I think what is the kind of structure of a national grid architecture? I think education grid and gateway services access system. I think premier institutes and higher learning institutions to join together for this kind of exercise. I think it's like a Tier 5 data center. So Tier 1 is ICT infrastructure, telecom service providers in the country. Tier 2 is systems and applications over clouds and internet. Tier 3 is content, web resources, integrated and NPTEL, etc. Academic management, that is. Fourth tier is content alignment capacity building. There is a updated university system. And fifth tier is instruction practice evaluation management, colleges and study centers. There is experts and monitors. I think this is the kind of thing each of the 5 layers requires different ownership and MSPs. So establishing education grid. I think one of the such education grid has been set up in Kerala for agriculture system, and maybe it was working well. I don't know the current condition of that. Tiers 1 and 2 infrastructure systems and applications need data centers, virtual cloud of applications running over network data centers. For now, NK in India is providing GPS to VPNs. Ongoing efforts of NPTEL and more are needed. More in advanced web resources, scientific databases, HPC, 3D and VR content, simulated labs and environments, and so on. Lot more on local content generation is different languages is needed. Tier 4 is critical layer to associate content with learning activities using the formal UOD framework, driven by close user education groups, duly appointed by respective universities, and duly approved by its academic councils or equivalent. Quality of education is assured through this layer. Manage it in affiliate colleges and study centers. So I think what NEP talks about is the affiliation itself is going to be remote for a period of time. So infrastructure of the education grid, leveraging the kind of NKN and NME, that's what we talked about earlier, because a new policy has come out only in 2020. This is a pre-2020 policy environment which we plan for education demand. So this is a structure where it is going to talk about various scientific databases, advanced computing resources, computer vision portals, asymmetric broadband network connections, and all the things are going to be working to see the national gigabit VPN over the OFC networks. So this is, I think, regional broadband. I think from central broadband to regional broadband, so that we can cover all the villages concerned. So I think establish regional centers for education innovations and practices, very, very important aspect, because this regional innovation, education centers for education innovation practices is also being planned in NEP. I will try to come out at the end of the lecture. Functions of RCB possible under PPP model. I think PPP talked about public-private partnerships earlier, but what I think NEP is talking about, our new infrastructure needed, is private-public participation. The whole game plan is changing now. This is what I think they are expecting to change a PPP model. So towards a PPP model for education grid services, all universities and formal education programs to hire their own space in the cloud of network data centers. Data centers may be owned and managed by private players. All agree on an Indian profile of standardized systems and applications. And integrated, currently using few instances of Solaris or Linux or virtual containers over enterprise class servers. Open source system to be used. That's what is talked about here. Open databases, open CMS, and Apache for hosting web applications. Applications are typically wiki, Moodle, and digital library suite, mobile gateways, video streaming, databases, etc. Care to taken to ensure that applications are W360 compliant and access through different browsers under common OS. An incubator for promoting education grid services. I think very, very important aspect of PPP model for education grid services. Learning updating university system to advantage. Each updating university adopts UOD framework and builds its own open course guides for each course. Colleges conduct the course as per the OCG. Each of them may use their own LMS and other tools. Teachers in different colleges of the same university collaborate with CEG through an LMS maintained in the university. Both CEG and teachers are also guided by the open courseware group. Experienced teachers may choose or encourage to undergo certificate of proficiency programs conducted by AU. Certified teachers in a subject carry out evaluation of their own class in that subject and act as a feedback to students. Such systems generate large pool of good teachers over time. OCG also promotes varieties of students' engagements in learning activities. Very, very important aspect of students' participation in learning activities. So the popularity of NPTEL video lectures hosted on YouTube is increasing. Maybe possibly I think it has seen more than 3 million visits now. Open comments on YouTube show many students around the world are grateful for this IIT's initiative under the MHRD scheme. But problem is these are expert lectures. It is not a courseware. So how we make this as a part of coursework structure is going to be the kind of integration of these materials into coursework teaching. This is what exactly is planned in the new education policy too. So the great opportunity is imaging the scope for a revenue base. Let us see cost effectiveness of it, and let us work out the cost of it and what we are going to gain on that. Let us say that we charge rupees 100 per month or rupees 500 for a whole semester long course for assured teacher-enabled learning services, 8 courses per year, 2.5 million engineering students. The pool comes to rupees 10 million crores per year. The scope is much more. The whole new world of open education in India leading the way for solving its present intractable problem. IOCG-driven EOD framework assures all students quality learning centric education. EOD gives the system of formal education to tech-enabled edge. We may also liberate learners by allowing to take courses from different universities. This is being talked about the new NEP policy of credit transfers as well as the kind of academic credit bank is going to be established. Changing accreditation system and regulatory system, very, very important aspect of it. The 5-star cross maturity rating over the EOD framework makes it accreditation worthy in a natural way. This will help giving new enabling roles to regulatory bodies and accreditation agencies. This may be set the terms of proposed National Commission on Higher Education, which is being planned in the new education policy. With IOC and supporting public wiki in each course curriculum, modernization is readily integrated as a continuous process. Let us start the 3-way consultation between academia, industry, and government and thrash out the models of building EOD system in the country. It is time we get out of the present weak system of education that has reduced it to the covering the syllabus and conducting mass exams. As for our Indian tradition, the true man-making education is built upon 3 processes: Sravana, Manana, and Nijasana. The EOD framework set over the national education grid is a practical way to support quality education through technology-enabled learning. It is time to give learners a great options than what is supported by the university or college through open access courses and somewhere else. The NEP talks about how the kind of course credits are going to be taken for the entire system of education in the country. The end of education is character. That's what Sai Baba said. So what we want to build here over education is to build a character, to build the kind of morality of the student, to build the kind of persons to have ethical and character, morality will be increased. This is what Sai Baba said. The end of education is character. What is expected from national and international professional societies in this case? What are the kind of roles? To work for the global national standards in every sector of education and research and sustainable development. To evolve, propagate good practices to achieve better productivity and efficiency and efficacy. To provide empowerment of citizens and create the framework program to achieve the Millennium Development Goals. That's what SDG 4 is being talked about here. To achieve the 6 Sigma using new and emerging technology to make every citizen a knowledge worker. Every person is going to be a knowledge worker. Joint contribution of what is expected of partnering education institutions, universities, national and global. Joint contribution to national knowledge digital warehouse. This is what exactly is being planned in the new NEP. Mutually agreeable quality norms for digital multimedia content, evaluation, and assessment. Joint ownership of shareable courseware to cover quality of education for all. To establish a referral national open knowledge university. This is what also being referred the NEP policy. What is expected by partnering education institutions, universities. So what is the kind of things what we talk about? Learner-centered, flexible technology-driven system need for alliances. We need alliances here. Why we need alliances? Cost-sharing economy. Learning resources, development, establishment of learner support centers, infrastructure for course delivery. Very, very important aspect of sharing the cost of economy. Changing enrollment patterns, flexible and modular learning to fulfill the learner demand. Credit system is going to be for a period of longer time of situation than a 3-year degree program or 4-year degree program. Cross-sharing of courses, cost and registration funding pattern change. Cross-sharing of courses are going to happen between the universal systems. Curricular demands, variety of academic talent for a short period of time is needed. There is sharing staff resources. So need of power is mix of all the 3 functions. That means what we need is facilitating a learning environment, support to learner as a broker, coordinating the process and development of materials. Very, very important aspect of need of the hour. So global successful alliance. Is there successful alliances in the world? Can we talk about alliances examples? We are talking about 3 examples here. Say different kind of models. Successful experiment partnership alliances, National Technology University of USA, acts as a bridge between the learners and participating institutions, this is a faculty. One-way transmission of lectures, synchronized or asynchronous mode, with two or multiple ways of teacher-learner, learner-teacher, learner-computer-based communication. Enables movement of credits and also awards credits, but doesn't give the degrees. Successful alliances of resource sharing, the Open Learning Australia, acts as an educational broker with a multiplicity of functions to bring courses of Australian tertiary education institution. Does not have a credit or credential granting authority. The second model. The third model is Open Learning Foundation of UK. I think the Federation of British Universities designs curriculum and develops learning materials for distribution of top campus students. Does not support the learning environment. Does not access or award credits. Facilitates top development activities. I think this is the third model. What we need is maybe a kind of thing, relationship to institution which over the curriculum and credits is non-intervention in the curricula assessment areas. Passive in academic decision making. Active in business orientation. I think where we need of the hour is what business needs, we have to produce the educated quantity, employers, students. Confined to national jurisdiction, I think this is going to be removed here. Maybe possibly education has become a global subject now. Partnership transcending national boundaries should not be simply part of the business of like Malaysia or Western Venture, which has failed because Australian institution was came, and that's what happened in Nepal also. I studied for Nepal what kind of system they should have. But once they opened up this kind of multi-university system from Australia, Canada, and British, Indian education, Nepal is coming to India for education is stopped. Maybe possibly that's not a good idea because they learn a lot of things, value systems in India. It's not a business. 21st century learning system will witness more private participation. What is the kind of roles here? Complementarity, the partnership based on mutual respect, trust, and benefit. Mission clarity and articulation. Clear sense of direction in fulfilling the mission. Institutional commitment, ownership of entire community. Government and community support, total support to delivery of education products and services. Organization structure, support partnership activities, faith, trust, and belief in education delivery and support to learning environment. Leadership is, if you have a vision for global development to meet international community needs, I think we have to produce leaders. It has to start from the school itself. That's what I think new NEP policy talks about. 21st century partnership driven by student volume economies. I think the whole idea came up in 2000, nearly 9, I think in Delhi. What has happened was that passing percentage cut of students for admissions of colleges is going to be around more than 90%. But so many students have got 81st class, they are not able to get admission in Delhi. So they have to go out of Delhi to find education. I think this is what I think government thought, why not to make a kind of virtual university system. That's why the funding happened there. So, but unfortunately, it didn't take up. But now NEP talked about mobility of the students as well as mobility of the universities, universal system of education. Learner choice and autonomy. I think this is also not catered to. See, for example, one person is admitted an engineering student. Why should you join as a mechanical, electrical, electronic, or maybe subject-wise? Let him join engineering. Let us say these are the core courses for the engineering. These are the flexible elective course of engineering. This many course credits you take, you will get a degree in mechanical or maybe possibly a combination of degree for engineering. I think these are the flexibility we should have. Maybe possible not only to read in one institution, maybe possible multiple institution credit transfer, credit banks to come. I think this is what NEP talked about here. I'll cover it in the next few minutes. Mobility of jobs and people explosion of knowledge and technology, very, very important aspect. Interdependency and universalization, strategy for survival for all. I think very, very important aspect. Nobody, without learning, nobody can survive. Cannot be about territorial preservation, but I think we need, within the territorial preservation, what we need is, whatever the ethics and morality we have to value system to be preserved. So the professional pyramid we talk about, the vision layer, dreamers and players talk about the vision layer. The solution layer is conceptualizers and designers of technology designers. Validator layer about technology and domain expertise. Brick and mortar layer is the lower layer, basic concepts and skills come up. I think this is a professional pyramid we are trying to build up. So to make learning a knowledge, a social and economic activity. Acquisition of knowledge a lifelong activity. Lifelong learning is talked about here. Technology a solution to demand for learning and create new possibilities to make it happen. So what we need is demand of diverse learners, diversity of goals, diversity of context, demand for higher education, renewal of employee skills in service sector, delivering education demand supply perspective, skilling and retraining, I think very, very important aspect of skilling over a period of time and capacity building at all levels. And due to structural changes of economy and creating a new social demand, I think challenge of immersing learners in quality learning environment. At the end of learning effort, a learner should be able to say, I understand, add to his or tacit capabilities. Tacit capability to explicit capabilities is what is being talked about, a codification of knowledge, global network information conceptual base, institutions, social interactions, judgment, estimation, peoples of real world, people's competencies, communication, feelings are to be developed. I think this is exactly the kind of things talk about education, technology, information services. And now what is needed is joint contribution national knowledge digital warehouse. I think this has been talked about NEP also. Mutually agreeable quality norms for digital multimedia contents and evaluation assessment. Joint ownership for shareable courseware to cover quality education for all. To establish national open knowledge university as a virtual university, as a kind of referral university. This is also being planned. What is expected by partnering education institutions, universities, national, globally? This is what is expected from participating university system. And more to be done. If the poor cannot come to education, education must reach them. At the plow, in the factory, and everywhere. This is what Swami Vivekananda said. With the CKE, we must integrate quality and inclusive education, opportunities for all aspiring youth, and anyone who wish to learn further. I think there's no remarcation of caste and type, economically weaker session. Such education should be vertically integrated to provide opportunities for everyone who is competent and aspires to study further. I think this is what has to be nurtured from school education. This is what I think NEP policy talked about. Slogan, place no bar, age no bar, time no bar, and offer quality education to all independent of geography. I think the only irreplaceable capital an organization possesses is the knowledge and the ability of its people. The productivity of the capital depends on how effectively people share their competence with those who can use it. This is what Andrew Carnegie said in the 19th century. So into the future, we are talking about higher education here, but I'll come to the other parts of education in the few minutes time. Re-engineering the engineering education, we should develop many suites of 4 or 5 courses, each carrying a diploma, 4 diploma programs in sciences, humanities, engineering sciences, computer and computational sciences, and other areas, IT, software engineering, agriculture, health, and commerce. I think every area of specialization India needs has to be developed as a kind of structured engineering program education. Students may choose 3 diplomas and internship to get an associate degree, 4 or more plus project BTech degree. After associate degree, branch up into areas like healthcare, journalism, mass media, etc. Teachers doing concurrent proficiency certification and diploma programs, students may adapt to blend learning formats. Aim is to liberate higher education, is teachers and students from the suffocation of updating university and bureaucracy. I think let us talk about now salient features of National Education Policy 2020. I think so. What it covers here is a new education system by 2040. Something has to be achieved by 2030 because 10 years is a life cycle management program and 10 years for development program. Changes is child care to higher education, teacher and inclusive education, research in the school education. I think 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 ages, 3 to 18. I think I'll cover it in the next few slides here. Current higher education systems issues, institutional and restructuring and consolidation, the ODL and blended learning and institutional autonomy, multidisciplinary education for 21st century, flexible curricula and internships. I think internship and practical training is very essential, all levels of education they are talking about. Flexible multi-entry degree programs, a creation of academic bank of credit, the kind of education system, MERO, NRF creation, the National Research Foundation. All the things have been talked about in the new education policy. I'll cover a little bit more details in the next few slides. Global internalization at home. I think what is needed is a kind of a thing, India to go abroad and go abroad to come here. I think the kind of open up of the education, the global internalization at home so that it can be externally exported also. Motivated, energized, and capable faculty. Very, very important aspect of capacity building of teachers and teacher education. Multidisciplinary program, 4 and 2 year, 1 year B.Ed program. Creation of NRF and coordination with other specialized funding agencies. They are not stopping other specialized agencies for funding. but they are also trying to create coordination between the agencies. Overall structure of HES, I think the 4-tier structure is planned. I'll cover the 4-tier structure now. Steps to be taken by governments in HEA. What kind of roles to play the state government as well as central government and other education authorities. Next is about National Higher Education Regulatory Commission and Board of Governors. The Board of Governors formulation of IDP has the India Development Plan, Institutional Development Plan. Adult education, lifelong learning is also another area where NEP focuses on. Indian language promotion, preservation of culture, education employment, Indian Institute of Translation Interpretation. I think very important aspect of cross exchangeable courseware and knowledge base. Technology and use and integration. Technologies in education and education technologies and National Education Technology Forum is being contemplated to be conceived on. So reimagining vocational education and reinforcement of NSQ have all modes to be explored. Vocational education is assuming importance. Current scenario is that those people who are passed out of the open education system, like open universities, are downgraded. Maybe possibly they are not acceptable equivalent to the full-time course students. The same thing happening to vocational education. I think government wants to equalize these all things to have the same quality, so that in any mode of education you undergo, you will be employable as others are. NCIV, National Committee for Integration of Vocational Education, is being planned to set up. An alignment of Indian standards to global standards is being planned. Catalyzing quality academic research in all fields through National Research Foundation. I think all fields are going to be encouraged. Every university has to become multidisciplinary research university. And professional education reforms is health, education, agriculture, law, technology, and management to become multidisciplinary. Health education, agri-education, legal education, and management. Everything is going to be multidisciplinary. Educational software and distributed technology. I think whenever distributed technology happens, everything has to gear up for this. So education software and distributed technology to be used for disability students or maybe possibly physically disabled students. Integration of new skills in educational frameworks. Ensuring equitable use of technology and online digital education. Very, very important aspect is being talked here about use of technology online as well as digital education. The other part is creating a dedicated center for building world-class digital infrastructure, certified educational digital content capacity, strengthening of Central Advisory Board of Education (CAB). The financing is affordable and quality education for all. I think what they are planning to do is increase the government contribution in education investment to 6.6% of GDP. PPP in education redefined, public-private partnership instead of private-public partnership. I think the private-public partnership is going to be nurtured. Guiding implementation principle is effective implementation require multiple initiatives and actions, which will have to be taken by multiple bodies in a synchronized and systematic manner. Very, very important aspect is policy is easier to make, but implementation is going to be difficult. They are talking about 20 years, the whole policy to take shape, full shape. And implementation of this policy will be led by various bodies, including MHRD, CAB, union and state governments, education-related ministries, state departments of education, boards, NTA, the regulatory bodies of school and higher education, NCRT, SCRT schools, and HEAs along with timeliness and a plan for review in order to ensure that the policy is implemented in spirit and intent through coherence in planning, synergy across all the involved bodies in education. Very, very important aspect of this. What is the kind of policy recommendations is making? First, implementation of spirit and intent of the policy will be most critical matter. The second, it is important to implement the policy initiatives in a phased manner, as each policy points has several steps, each of which requires a previous step to be implemented successfully. That means in consequence, it's a kind of continuity. Third, prioritization will be important in ensuring optimal sequencing of policy points. And the most critical and urgent actions are taken up first, thereby enabling a strong base. Fourth, the comprehensiveness in implementation will be a key. As this policy is interconnected and holistic, only a full-fledged implementation, not a piecemeal one, will ensure that desired objectives are achieved. Fifth, since education is a concurrent subject, this is a major issue here. It will need careful planning, joint monitoring, and collaborative implementation between central and states. Sixth is timely infusion of requisite resources, human, infrastructural, and financial, at the central and state level will be crucial for a satisfactory execution of the policy. Finally, careful analysis and review of linkages between multiple parallel implementation steps will be necessary in order to ensure effective detailing of all initiatives. This will also include early investment in some of the specific actions, such as setting up early childhood care, education infrastructure, that will imperative to ensuring a strong base, a smooth progression for all subsequent programs and actions. So I think let me talk about a little bit about various stages of tiers of education. Restructuring school education. 10+2 structure will be modified with a new pedagogical curricular restructuring of 5+3+3+4, covering ages to 3 to 18. I think they are starting a kind of exercise from 3rd year onwards to 18 years. The foundational is 3 to 8 years, early childhood care to class 1 and 2. The preparatory is 9 to 11 years, class 3 and 5. The middle is 11 to 14 years, class 6 and 8. And secondary is 14 to 18 years, class 9 to 12. I think they are going to restructure the school education. It's a very major step being undertaken in the new policy. Complete overall of higher education system, deliver high quality, equity, and inclusive higher education. Very important aspect of equity and inclusive higher education. Moving towards this, I think moving towards a more multidisciplinary undergraduate education, multidisciplinary. Moving towards a faculty and institutional autonomy. Every institution is going to be autonomous. Revamping curriculum, pedagogy, assessment, and student support for enhanced student experiences. Reaffirming the integrity of faculty and institutional leadership program functions through merit appointments and career progression based on teaching, reaching, research and service. Establishment of National Research Foundation to fund outstanding peer-reviewed research and to actively seed research in universities and colleges. Governance of higher education institutions by highly qualified independent boards having academic and administrative autonomy. Light but tight regulation by a single regulator of higher education. And an increased access, equity, inclusion through a range of measures, including greater opportunities for outstanding public education, scholarships by private philanthropic universities for disadvantaged, underprivileged students, online education, open distance learning, and all infrastructure learning materials accessible to available to learners with disabilities. I think this is a major exercise of cross-current learners and disabilities. Flexible multi-entry exit degree programs, academic bank of credit, Meru, and another creation. I think very interesting thing is an academic bank of credit will be established, which would digitally store the academic credits earned from various recognized higher education institutions, so that degrees from HEA can be awarded concerning credits earned. So the 4-year program may also lead to a degree with research if the student completes a rigorous research project in their major areas of study as specified by HEE. I think what they are going to talk about is the undergraduate degree will be of either 3 or 4 year duration with multiple exit options within the period, with appropriate certifications, a certificate after completing 1 year in a discipline, field including vocational and professional areas, or a diploma after 2 years of study, and bachelor degree after 3 years of program, and 4-year multidisciplinary bachelor program, however, shall be preferred option, which allows opportunity to experience a full range of holistic multidisciplinary education. Now, you should focus on chosen major, minors, or majors as per the choice of the student. So, I think HEAs will have the flexibility to offer different designs of master programs. A 2-year program with second year devoted entirely to research for those who have completed a 3-year bachelor program. For 3-year bachelor programs, completed person 2-year master degree. For students who complete a 4-year bachelor's program, it's a 1-year master degree. There may be an integrated 5-year bachelor's master degree program. Undertaking a PhD shall require a master's degree or a 4-year bachelor's degree with research. The MPhil program is abolished. It's going to be discontinued. Model public universities for holistic and multidisciplinary education at par with IITs and IIMs called MERU, Multidisciplinary Education Research Universities, will be set up and will aim at attain higher goal standards quality education. They will also help the higher standards for multidisciplinary education across India. IES will focus on research and innovation by setting up startup incubation centers, technology development centers, centers in frontier areas of research, all multidisciplinary, industry academic linkages, and interdisciplinary research, including humanities and social sciences research. I think arts and science, technology, engineering, management, all are going to be grouped together as a kind of multidisciplinary areas. It is critical that HEAs take the lead to undertake research in areas of infectious diseases, epidemiology, virology, diagnostics, instrumentation, vaccinology, and other relevant areas. I think more important thrust is being on after this new pandemic. HEAs will develop a specific hand-holding mechanism and competitions for promoting innovation among student communities. The NRF will function to help enable to support various research innovation centers across HEAs, research labs, and other research organizations. Teacher education. I think there's a major restructuring of teacher education plan, a truly multidisciplinary program, 4 and 2 and 1 year B.Ed program. I think it's a very important, vital information teacher education. So a teacher education requires multidisciplinary inputs, education high quality content, as well as pedagogy. All teacher education programs must be conducted within the composite multidisciplinary institutions. To this end, all multidisciplinary university colleges will aim to establish education departments, which besides carrying out cutting-edge research in various aspects of education, will also run B.Ed programs in collaboration with other departments such as psychology, philosophy, sociology, neuroscience, Indian languages, arts, music, history, literature, physical education, science and mathematics. Moreover, all standalone technical education institutions will be required to convert into multidisciplinary institutions by 2030. 10 years time they are given, since they will have to offer 4-year integrated teacher preparation programs. A 4-year integrated B.Ed offered by a multidisciplinary HEAs will be by 2030 becomes the minimal degree qualification for school teachers. The 4-year integrated B will be dual major holistic bachelor's degree in education as well as special subject in the language, history, music, mathematics, computer science. One specialization is also being planned there. So HEAs offering 4-year integrated B.Ed program may also run a 2-year B.Ed program for students who already received a bachelor's degree in a specified subject. The 1-year B.Ed program may also be offered for candidates who have received a 4-year undergraduate degree in a specialized subject. Scholarships and meritorious programs will be established for this purpose for attracting outstanding candidates to the 4-year, 2-year, and 1-year B.Ed program. A 4-tier Higher Education Commission of India. I think this is, very interesting restructuring of the Higher Education Commission and National Higher Education Regulatory Council. That's one is planned. Second is going to be the meta accreditation body called National Accreditation Council, a NAC, which is already functioning, but they're going to strengthen it. Third is Education Grants Council, which is going to give grants for various research programs or multidisciplinary researchers. The fourth vertical of HEA is going to be General Education Council, which is going to develop all education materials and contents and quality standards. The professional councils, such as the Indian Council for Agricultural Research, Veterinary Council of India, National Council for Teacher Education, Council of Architecture, National Council for Vocational Education Training, will all act as a professional standard setting bodies, PSSBs. They will play a key role in higher education system and will be invited to be members of academic standards and coordinating between teachers, research and extension of domain discipline as members of the GEC, General Education Council. As members of GEC, there should be a specific curriculum framework with which HEAs may prepare their own curricula. So this, I think, the kind of architectural change they are going to make for managing regulation of higher education, a 4-tier system. Adult education, lifelong learning. I think the other emphasis area which NEP talked about is adult education and lifelong learning framework, which talks about the foundational literacy and numeracy, critical life skills, vocational skills, basic education skills, and continuing education programs. The second is suitable infrastructure will be ensured. Third is instructor education will be required to deliver curriculum framework. The fourth is all efforts will be undertaken to participation of community members in the program education, community-based education system is going to come. So Indian language promotion and preservation culture. I think very, very important aspect of trust for any Indian language, which is script or no script, will be taught in colleges and schools and colleges. I think very, very interesting aspect of this kind of Indian language promotion and preservation culture is being planned because no language should be died. This is the plan of this next 20 years. Technology use and integration of technology in education and education technologies and National Education Technology Forum. They are going to set up a National Education Technology Forum. And India is a global leader in information communication technology. So they are going to use this kind of leadership of India for this kind of education technologies and technologies in education. I think this is the kind of thing which is going to be based advice to central and state government agencies for technology-based interventions, build intellectual and institutional capabilities in education technology, envision strategic thrust areas in the domain, articulate new directions for research and innovation. I think the NEP will be set up, which is going to conduct workshops, conferences, solicit input from national and international education technology researchers, entrepreneurs, and practitioners. The structure of technological interventions will be for the purpose of improving teaching, learning, evaluation processes, supporting teacher preparation and professional development, enhancing educational access, streamlining educational planning and management and administration, including process related to admissions, attendance, and assessment. I think this is what exactly the national NEP is going to form. So PhD programs, research. I think this is another area where the thrust has been made. So reorientation of PhD programs and creating a national mission for mentoring. As I said earlier, new education policy talks about abolishing MPhil. So then the kind of, they are going to directly go to research after the kind of 4-year degree program or maybe possibly master's program. So I think in order to maintain uniform standards for teacher education, the admission to pre-service teacher preparation programs shall be through suitable aptitude test conducted by National Testing Agency, will be standardized keeping in view of linguistic and cultural diversity of the country. The faculty profile in departments of education will be necessary to aim at diverse faculty profile in education department. All fresh PhD entrants, irrespective of discipline, will be required to take credit-based courses in teaching and education pedagogy and writing related to their chosen PhD subject during the doctoral training period. The in-service continuous professional development for college university teachers will continue through a kind of Swam Disha programs, online training of teachers. A national mission for mentoring shall be established with a large pool of outstanding senior retired faculty, including those with the ability to teach in Indian languages. I think very, very important aspect which is being talked about in the new policy. Would be willing to provide short and long-term mentoring professional support to university college teachers. So implementation by 2030 and 2040. I think they made guiding implementation principles and effective implementation requires what? Let us talk about this for a few minutes before we conclude. First, implementation of spirit and intent of the policy will be most critical matter. The second, it is important to implement the policy initiative in a phased manner, as each policy point has several steps, each of which requires previous step to be implemented successfully. Third, prioritization will be important for ensuring optimal sequencing of policy points. Comprehensive implementation will be key as this policy is interconnected to holistic. Only a full-fledged implementation, not a piecemeal one, will be accepted. Since education is a concurrent subject, it will need careful planning, joint monitoring, and collaborative implementation between central and states. Timely infusion of requisite resources is very essential, human, infrastructure, and financial, at the central and state levels, very crucial for satisfactory execution. Careful analysis and review of linkages between multiple parallel implementation steps, very essential. I think they are going to say more strong infrastructure, education infrastructure, such as setting up a early childhood care and education infrastructure will be imperative to ensuring strong base in education. So effective implementation requires multiple initiatives and actions which have to be taken by multiple bodies in a synchronized and systematic manner. Implementation of this policy will be led by various bodies, including MHRD, CAB, union and state governments, education-related ministries, state departments of education, NTA, the regulatory bodies of school and higher education, NCRT, SCRT schools, and HEAs along with terminals and a plan for review in order to ensure that the policy is implemented in spirit and intent through coherence in planning and synergy across all those involved bodies in education. So I think this is a reference site which is giving a shell view of the 66 pages of the MHRD NEP policy 2020. I think Indians have done us proud. You can see this kind of figures which has made us proud as per India. Indians who do us proud is all students who are going to nurture with the new education policy. And Bharat Mohan is quality skills development to empower the billion. And Build India campaign is India can excel in education and education services. Let us all of us work together to make India bright and shine. Thank you very much. I think I would like to acknowledge here that all the people who have been involved in discussions, instructions, and feedback in the presentations, and also journals published and professional associations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Subramanian, for your wonderful overview presentation on education on demand, and also touching about the NEP 2020, which is a very vast subject by itself. So before we take the formal Q&A session, we are very happy to say that Professor Ananda Krishnan, former Vice Chancellor of Anna University, is with us. So may I request Professor Ananda Krishnan to give his opinion about this NEP and education online.
Sir, mic is muted.
Yeah,
Sir, please unmute your mic, sir.
Sir, mic?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. First of all, I want to compliment Dr. Subramanian for an excellent, very well thought out, well structured presentation of the new education policy. I think undoubtedly the new education policy will bring about a major revolution, and it will bring about some of the changes like the abolition of the affiliation system, restructuring of the governance, national governance of the higher education, role of the now UGC will be gone, AICT will be gone, but in that place there will be a new institution. So there will be quite a few changes that are going to come. The only apprehension that I have is how far, because eventually, as Dr. Subramanian said, it's a concurrent subject. The central and state government have to jointly implement it. How far the state governments will take it seriously and bring about the spirit of the implementation is a question that I have. But let us hope for the best. Thank you.
Thank you,
sir.
Thank you, Professor Ananda Krishnan. You have rightly pointed out the state-center relationship, which is even today we are able to see the two MTech courses which have been stopped. The admission.
Yes, that's right.
See, in this whole process, the benefit which is supposed to reach the student community, we are losing.
Yes.
So that is one thing which is a real concern. And Professor Subramanian, see, the education and demand heavily depends on ICT infrastructure, right? So mainly the infrastructure and access to education has become one of the major concerns, and particularly the country like India, where the digital divide is very much in existence. So what will be the implications of education and demand? And when is it likely to take some momentum?
Sir, let me give you a case. Because when I came from Japan, after doing a higher education policy for education on demand for higher education in Japan, I came back and told IITs, within the IIT itself is not standardized, even across IITs. So we thought we'll reform the IIT system first before going to the other education institution, because it's more autonomy and controlled environment is available. And Professor Sirogi, IIT Delhi director, appointed me as a visiting professor there. I even professor is ready to give, but two departments, computer science and management. But no department wants to own me. They said it should be either computer science or management, not both. But interdisciplinary system is not being favored, including the IIT system. But now I think is the kind of need of the hour. Is interdisciplinary research. AI is going to penetrate everything, right? The cloud is going to penetrate everything. Maybe machine learning is going to penetrate every life. I think all the things are going to penetrate every aspect of human being and human life. So we need that. So the education demand concept may be easier to implement in higher education if government and state government willing, and the university system to come together, and the better regulation happens, and maybe possibly people will talk about India development, not only as an institutional development, but India development, and also putting India in a global sphere. Second one is, I think, another major thing which I think you didn't see in the presentation is top 100 universities from abroad will be allowed to set up campuses in India. They brought it because the idea was to bring the kind of quality education in the interesting, important subjects to come to India. So the Indian need not go abroad. They will come back to India. They will have Indian system and under control of Indian bodies. They will be operational. And this kind of curriculum exchange and standardization across the university system is going to happen. This is what I think they're planning. But we have to wait and see how the implementation is going to be with the center state subject and interstate subject. Very, very important aspect where people are mobile, people are moving across borders, people are moving across India states. But we need education to be not compartmentalized, education to be universal. I think this is our whole idea of this. That's why the concept was very difficult to implement. So the idea was, I think we tried to introduce the concept of open education in IGNOU to break the culture of only education, open education, to even full-fledged programs with partnership institutions. We did it for 3 years. We had conducted 27 major master's programs, advanced research for IIT as well as management. We did. We brought 3 crores of revenue to IGNOU. But 4th year, the vice chancellor changed and everything got halt. They stopped. They said IGNOU should go only distance education. Second area of concern was, after distance education, people get graduation, they are not employable equally to other institutions, right? Full-fledged courses, full-time courses. Same thing. Those people from IITs, non-IITs, their demarcation is there because of quality, because of infrastructure, because of the kind of image they created, because of ranking of the university system, right? Institutional quality system. I think we want to break the barriers of these kind of things. Let me give you this example here. When Catholic happened, sometime back in 2006 or something, I was one member commission was appointed by government. I was assisting him technologically, what kind of analysis do, what kind of CAT should have. So we enabled online education, online CAT testing system across the standards. Because the CAT scores should be acceptable to other management schools also. I think it has happened after 2-3 years of struggle. I think this is what exactly is going to happen in HA. Because whenever you open up a kind of full-fledged reforms, they expect 20 years. Because 10 years is going to be the stabilization period, 10 years is going to be development period. So by 2040, they think the whole implement system will be in full tune. So, but government will change, the political system will change, the kind of support system will change, even possibly restructuring also will happen, and technology is also changing fast. More and more disruptive technology is going to come, because we are going to go through a kind of exercise where pandemic is going to happen, may happen, may not happen, but we have to be eventually be ready for it. I think this is the kind of thing what we are going to see is the future. I think future is not that much 100% predictable, but we are feeling that if everything coincides well, we'll be in a position to achieve at least 60 to 70% of the goals have been formulated in the NEP policy 2020. Because some other things like virtual university was not agreed to by IITs.
Yes.
When the system was conceptualized by MHRD, with 100 crores they gave to IIT Kanpur director to develop a kind of system for virtual university system to be established within 2 years. Because our graduates are not going for higher education, so we thought that they should have some provision of learning. But unfortunately, I think it didn't take off. But now virtual university is being talked about. A kind of umbrella system is going to come. A kind of a national structure to broader global structure is going to come. Maybe possibly this all envisaged, but I think if the willingness continues, commitment continues, institutional cooperation continues, and center state opens up, and then go about the markets of political parties, this will happen. I think India will improve.
So basically, the current concept has been that distance education has not been recognized, some of the courses.
No, even vocational education is not recognized.
Yeah. So ultimately,
they're going to give.
Yeah, even the online education or education on demand is also a part, more or less like a distance education for all practical purposes.
No,
right?
they have common labs, they have simulation labs, they have everything. Only thing is it may not be physically, they have to go to the institution to have the kind of credit system to be earned. Credit is transferable.
So, which means that ultimately the recognition of on-demand courses, where are we? Are we started recognizing the on-demand courses or just sort of in the beginning stage? Here?
See, if courses are given by IITs or higher learning institutions, that is acceptable to some of them because they look for IIMs, IIT degrees to come. But I think the major problem here is Is the university boundaries will exist or not? Question is, because suppose credit is transferable, you can get a degree from any university here on
Yes.
standardization of curriculum and degree testing thing. Then who will go to some university? Everyone wants to be IIT, IIM degree, right? So the whole thing is going to be a larger. I think everything should be quality wise same standard. I think this is what we are expecting, but it's impossible to achieve, in my opinion. But I think slowly it will develop towards higher rating systems.
And you were mentioning about the government is planning to increase the budget to 6% of the GDP. Is it the increasing it, or it is just a sort of, right now we are less than 2%, right?
3 point something.
Oh,
Nearly 4% is coming
so where
with
this,
all the things total needed. But
so
I
this
think now a trust on education is being given as one of the important priorities of the planning. And they are trying to earmark 6% of GDP in the few years to come. This plan itself. I think that's what happened. And even Finance Minister's budget speech said about National Institution of Language Translation and Translator will be set up. He said, and NEP implementation policy also, something about restructuring also talked about in the budget speech. So I think intention is clear. How they are going to implement is going to be the question. They are going to nurture one technology, or they are going to nurture multiple technologies. We can't know.
and we have been talking about education in your own language. Okay. And what type of implication is likely to have in this year?
Employing and employability, job creation, and kind of mobility of people, right? See, people are mobile. People are ready to go for across the borders, across the states, right? Across the countries. So they are going to be employable elsewhere. They should be having multiple knowledge. Actually, that's why he said at least 3 languages one should know. That's what I think they are talking about, 3 language policy type. But one language is important, that's the national language. One language is important, English, it is going to be a kind of global exchange programs. And third language is local language. So contents have to be developed in that. See, I think degrees have to be recognized. Maybe possibly this is what exactly is being talked. But how they are going to achieve, because I think ancient literature says India has got a traditional knowledge system which is much more, produce capacity leaders in various programs, various capacities. So that's what I think we talked about in the kind of policy. And I think the same thing they're going to bring about multidisciplinary university system. Across the borders, credit is exchangeable, and we can get degree from any institution where major credits are offered, so that they are not opened up to any institution who go and get the credit. And there's also a life cycle of credit validity, because there's also another important thing, because technology is changing. So the credit structure also is going to be life cycle, going to be defined, so that within the year you have to get the degree. Otherwise, the credit lapses. So that's why Academic Bank of Credit system is going to be a national warehouse where people can refer to it and get that exchange within the university system, which is acceptable.
Okay, what type of changes envisaged for teacher education in the NEP?
That's what I covered. 3 slides are there. Teacher education is going to be a first area. Unless you have teachers or mentors, nobody is going to be educated. So I think teacher education is given very, very important aspect in the new policy. They are going to talk about the program. For people who have graduated, they're going to be 1 year degree program. The people who have a 2 year degree, think they are going to have a 2 year degree program. I think B.Ed is going to be a must for school teaching. It's a multidisciplinary approach.
Okay. And you have been talking about this, you slightly changed the description of PPP instead of public-private, it become private-public. So,
No, even for e-government, we talked about it.
okay.
Because whenever government funds it, private fellow will participate and do it, as long as government is funding. When government stops funding, no funding, no private will stop. I think that's why they restructure the public-private partnership to private-public partnership. So private people will invest, public will give the guidelines and support. So the government will give a support support of encouragement, support of regulation, and support of encouragement, support of funding to some extent needed. So private will fund major.
No, in
So
the case of
restructuring of the funding system.
no, in the case of private investment, actually, are we looking at education becoming a business?
And that's what I think one of the things which is talked about on slide, which I think I am not able to display because time is too short. The idea was that commercialization they want to stop. Education is a really fundamental phenomena. So commercialization of education is not discouraged, but not for profit. But you can make little profit to make things viable and kind of sustainable. Sustainable profit is okay, but not for profit. The fee structure will undergo a change.
Any of considering the current situation of digital divide and also the state-center relationship, the NEP and online education and on-demand education seems to be under tremendous pressure for implementation. Okay, so it is a reality, and then we need to sort of really take into consideration that everything goes well in the years to come, and our new generation gets benefited in terms of what has been planned, which is really foresightful thinking, and the implementation period, what you said, going to be almost 20 years. I mean, starting plus the stabilization period of another 10 years. So fairly long time, and definitely the changes in the political system and the investment scenario are going to be major factors in the success of this NEP 2020. So
Only encouragement is that if top 100 universities from across the world is going to come to India, and under the Indian regulator is going to work, system of education will change to some extent for better, where people need not go abroad for the same course. They will be afforded here. And Indian education system also will improve because they have to compete with others. Otherwise, they will not get the students. So I think this is what exactly, I was talking about one university in Faridabad yesterday, and he said that 80% to fill up engineering seats, 20% is vacant, and it's one of the good international universities. So I think these are the kind of problems they face in private institutions now, not because of pandemic, maybe possibly, I think, because of change, what is being needed, and maybe possibly, I think, still traditional way of talking about it, measurement of a profit, and not about profit for institution is going to be a scenario here. But I think things will change because I think one of the things which I was seeing, because got A+++ in NAC system of accreditation. So I felt that maybe possibly distance education they may be good, but curriculum never been updated for quite some time. Because there's a problem is it takes 4 to 5 years for updation of curriculum in a university system for our own department. So unless they're going to be given freedom and going to be accepted immediately, the curriculum change is going to happen, a very difficult thing. Private universities do change a little bit in 3 years or 4 years, but government universities don't change so fast. So I think this is what exactly one of the problems we face in distance education was the curriculum is very good materials at that point of time, but it's not very good for current scenario. Maybe it has to be updated continuously. Continuous updation of the courseware is not happening. This is a very sad set of affairs, but it will change. It will improve.
okay.
I think Prof. will vote for me because if I talk more, then you will become unpopular. So you will not be considered anywhere near the educational governance program. See, because that's the issue. But anyway, however, I think we changed because some support is needed from top leaders. Once support is there, I think we'll make a change. The change will be within 3 years to 4 years time, not long years. Otherwise, it will never happen.
Okay. However, it is heartening to note that some of the major corporations like IBM, so they're all going away with insisting a degree for employment. They are looking at the skills. Basically, if you are skillful in particular area, and they are considering to employ them. And people like Google, they have come forward along with Coursera, offering micro degrees. So in terms of job-oriented courses, and I think there is a positive trend we are able to see currently, and hopefully, if the corporate sector, starts recognizing this type of thing on a large scale, possibly this on-demand education will become a real success, and people will start getting benefit out of this entire scheme.
I think the present, there's a correction for you because nobody can give you a degree unless university or autonomous institution which can give a degree.
No. My
I
point
think
is,
micro degrees, I think is recognized only by Google. not by others. Right?
No. What we meant was the corporations are recognizing that. It is not necessarily the companies, private enterprises, as long as they give value to those education system. This is okay. It doesn't matter whether we get a degree from university, as long as what you have studied is recognized by the employer. So it is more than adequate. So this is a basic problem with our university system. So because we are very keen in getting a paper degree rather than really getting a knowledge.
Yes.
So
I'll give you an example here.
now the trend is we are looking for knowledge gaining rather than the paper degree. So this is the trend is taking place.
No, I'll tell you one instant. Northern University, once they have set up a Cisco center for capabilities, certification programs and things. So no student was coming through because of the rural area being addressed there. And nobody is able to give 40,000 rupees for certification of any kind of modules, right? So the Vice Chancellor was asking me what to do. Chancellor was asking me. Then I was given a suggestion that make a zero credit program, compulsory audit program. People should take it because networking idea concepts, networking kind of tools and technologies, where Cisco is a major partner in the networking area. People have to undergo the kind of education, need not be certified voluntary. So all the people entered to the curriculum and they got good degrees in marks in the employment. I think everybody got employed. So next year he called me and said that your idea worked because we are separated the commercial certification pro knowledge enrichment program. The same thing happening in IBM. IBM tools and technologies only talk there. But they're not going to talk about general tools and general technology, right? Because they want to promote their own tools and technology, right? So I think this is what exactly we are when we have partnership with the kind of IBM, Cisco and others, we made it mandatory for them to give kind of generic tools, train them as well as specific tools for them. So they employ by themselves. So we did that, but I think success has been made.
So thank you very much, Dr. Subramanian. I request Dr. Sakthivel to propose the formal vote of thanks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good evening to all of you. On behalf of the Computer Society of India Chennai chapter, ACM Professional Chennai chapter, and IEEE Computer Society Madras chapter, we would like to thank today's webinar speaker, Dr. K. Subramanian, former Senior Deputy Director General, National Informatics Center, and Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, for his excellent talk on educational reforms, education on demand, and National Education Policy 2020. He has given a very good overview about the national education policy and its importance. So on behalf of these societies, our thanks to you, sir. Thank you very much. We would like to thank Professor M. Anandakrishnan, former Vice Chancellor of Anna University, for his presence during the webinar and his opinion about the talk. Thank you very much, sir. I would like to thank Mr. H.R. Mohan, Chairman, ACM Chennai Chapter, Mr. T.V. Subramanian, Chairman, Computer Society of India Chennai Chapter, and Dr. Akhila, Managing MD Member, Computer Society of India Chennai Chapter, for their dedicated arrangements for arranging this excellent webinar. Thank you, H.R. Mohan sir, T.V. Subramanian sir, and Akhila madam. We would like to thank all the participants who have participated through virtual environment like Google Meet and YouTube. Without their participation, this webinar would not be a successful one. We thank all the participants. Thank you, Anandal. Thank you. Now over to H.R. Mohan for other remarks. Thank you, sir.
Once again, my sincere thanks to Dr. Subramanian for his excellent presentation. Though the subject is a very vast one, within 1 hour, 15 minutes, try to give an overview and kindle the interest of many of the participants. Possibly, I think we need to have more deliberations and try to involve more academic people, so that what they feel, and it could be some sort of interactive session, which maybe, we can consider having it sometime later, and can consider organizing more like a workshop for a longer duration. So that definitely, would like to have your support in organizing this program in the future, sir.
Thank you.
Before we formally close our today's presentation, I have some announcements regarding our forthcoming programs. On 13th of this month, we're having a program on stitching experience design into agile methodology. It is basically an user experience. On, we have a program on value-based IT solution to discipline agile. Basically, it is an agile development program. On the we will be having a program on mobile forensics and cyber crime investigation. Already invitations for all these programs have been sent to the member, and we expect them to register and attend and get benefited. So with this, we will close this today's program and look forward to your presence in the future program. Thank you very much, and good night.
Thank you.
Good night,
Thank you,
sir.
Thank you, sir.
சார் லாக் அவுட் பண்ணிட்டு இது ட்ரை ரன்